96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. Nice looking day. We've got a lot of retirees in this listening audience, and I wonder how many of you fit this description. It's the description of the person who moved here from someplace where homes are a lot more expensive, like New York or Boston or Chicago, and you sold your modest house for like $1 million. Mm-hmm. And then you came down here and you bought a house that's actually not even as modest as the one you had up north for $250,000.
Yes.
Right? And you ended up having $750,000 in the bank, and you can live like a king for the first time in your life, even though as a career you were a blue-collar worker. Right? Mm-hmm. How did that happen? And it probably happens to some people, not to many. The average 65-year-old American with a 401k has only about $25,000 in it. Social Security, as you know, is not looking too good. It's underfunded by $23 trillion. And I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm reading that information. I'm reading it from information that was sent to us by our next guest. He is on the phone, and he's written a book about this very thing. His name is Michael Cosentino. He's the CEO for American Liberty Financial, and he has written a book that is called America's Retirement Crisis, which sounds like the bad news.
Yes.
But then the subtitle, the good news, How to Build Wealth in the New Retirement World. So even if you are retired, and I've known a few people. Was it Warren Buffett who got started at 60?
Yes.
Started making. I think it was him. I was reading
Warren
about.
Buffett.
So it's never too late. Michael Cosentino. Good morning, Michael.
Hi, good morning, Larry. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Where are you right now?
In Michigan. We're trying to get warm up here.
Ah, yes. We have a lot. I-75 connects this area to Michigan, so.
Absolutely. It's a beeline.
Yes, it is. So we have a lot of retirees who say, you know what, I'm going wherever this road takes me.
Yeah. Hopefully to warmer locations.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not only warmer, but as long as you had a nice hunk of change invested into a house up there, you can really parlay that into a nice lifestyle down here once you retire. But that doesn't apply to everybody. I mean, a lot of people are really not doing well in their retirement years.
Yeah, it's a challenge, obviously, as my book title kind of articulates there, that there's a lot of challenges that are facing the country right now, and the one being the foremost that we talk about in the book, Larry, is income. How to create income and how to create a sustaining longevity of income. And a lot of that occurred with the shift back in 1978, when suddenly we went from a defined benefits world to a defined contributions world, where you had corporations that were creating pensions for people, and suddenly they started pulling away from that. I mean, if you look at the statistics, last one I seen was 67% of people had a pension in 1978, and you fast forward that to 2013, and it was a little under 20%. So I mean, that's been a massive shift of responsibility in creating income for retirement.
Do you know what breaks my heart? When I see an old man or an old woman, and please don't, hope nobody's offended by old. I mean, Robin and I are 60 each, so that's 120. So
yeah, that's right.
I can use that. I can use that logic. If they can, if at that law firm with 6 20-year-olds,
yeah,
they can say we have 120 years of experience between us. Come on,
exactly.
You're all 20. But hey, I hate that. I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it. But anyway, but what I'm getting at is, it breaks my heart when I see a guy or a lady who's retired and they're a greeter at Walmart or they're a bag boy at a grocery store. And if you talk about it, I mean, they're very optimistic and they say, no, I don't really need this. This is just something to keep me busy. Come on, you're not doing that. There are so many other things you could be doing to stay busy.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to keep working, and it's your love and it's your passion. It's another thing to keep working because you have to, and you're dead on with that, Larry.
Yeah. So does the book give us some ideas or maybe some direct examples of what we can do?
Yeah, it talks about, quite a few things at the beginning, which is it addresses the issues that people are facing. I mean, one of them you kind of alluded to, Social Security income at the beginning of the show. And Social Security income, obviously, there's changes that are coming, and we basically say, hey, one of three things have to occur there. Either the taxes have to go up, the income's going to have to go down, or you're going to have to see age pushed up. I mean, it's going to be underfunded in about 15 to 16 years. So we discussed that. We discussed the challenges with the current 401k system. That test has been challenged, and it's well documented by a lot of economists that that it wasn't meant to be a replacement for pensions. And as you alluded to also at the beginning, was the amount of savings. It hasn't been great there, and it's challenged because when you look at a 401k versus like a pension used to give you a specific amount of money that you were guaranteed if you work so many years. Here's what your income is going to be, and this will pay you. Whereas with a 401k, it's more of here's the funds you can go into that we selected for you. Here's the fees that they're charging, and by the way, there's really no principal protection and really no solid amount of income that we can accurately project for you. So we discussed those things in detail. And then we go on and talk about some strategies that aren't discussed that much out there in the marketplace that people usually, which put us on this journey, don't know about.
Right.
But when 401ks first began, they had a $2,000 maximum deposit annually, and it was a bank account. It wasn't in stocks or funds or anything like that. That way people were guaranteed money, and they didn't have to worry that they would lose that money because of the market.
That's a great point, and I think one of the things that's probably the most underlooked out there is principal protection, and just it's been glossed over for 30 plus years that the importance of principal protection, and it's not educated enough out there. When you take a look at the historical data of the S&P 500, for example, the last 100 years, every 5 to 7 years there's a major market correction, and those corrections, once they occur, it usually takes 3 to 5 years to get back to break even from where you were. And if you go over, a typical 35-year period of time a person might be working, that's about 4 corrections they're going to go through. Say it takes 4 years on average to break even, that's going to be about 16 years of lost time. And that's what causes a lot of frustration, especially when you go back to 2001, 2002. You got the tech correction, you got the major market with the tech correction that happened in 2000, and then you got 9/11, and then you got 2008 collapse. A lot of people got real concerned about being invested in the markets and taking losses.
Right.
And it's created even more issues because, sitting in a CD is not what, it's not going to be a real good long-term solution for many people.
As we get closer to next November, we will start to hear from the different people who've thrown their name in the hat, their hat in the ring, whatever you want to say, to become the next president.
Yeah.
And one of the things that will come up is whatever they think we should do as a nation to fix some of these things that would fix it on a broad scale. But I think your book is the way I prefer to say, you know what, you government guys, you figure out your thing. I'm going to do my thing because I think I have an idea. And if somebody like you comes forward and actually has a better idea than me about my own personal life, I mean, I'm all ears when somebody says I'm going to fix the whole country. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times fixing the whole country never even trickles down to me.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I like the idea that you're focusing on us as individuals.
Yep. I think it's important to as you're responsible as ultimately we all know. I believe that you're responsible for creating your retirement these days, and ultimately most people don't sit back and take a look at some of the challenges that they're facing as they're planning for it, and that's what we try to do is kind of point those out and then give them some alternatives that for some people are safer. But as I always say, when it comes to planning, there's no silver bullet, but I think what's most important, one of the things we see lacking out there a lot as we do these shows across the country and talk to people, is the lack of education, and then the lack of professional guidance continues to be a major issue out there.
Right, and both of those things apply to me. When I listen to, I don't know if you know who Clark Howard is. He does a radio show, and we carry him on this station.
Yep.
So when I listen to him, he will advise listeners who are young enough to put money into a Roth. Is it called a Roth IRA? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And see, I don't even know what that is. But I know I'm too old for it because he's told me many times on the radio. That's for a young man. So what are your thoughts on the different things you can do at different ages in your life, depending on how old you are?
I think that's a great question. I think there's different strategies that are going to work better for a person who's pre-retirement, of course, versus post-retirement. Our book focuses on all insurance-based strategies. Because one of the things that I seen out there as educating clients, educating people, was most of them had no idea how they worked and had false ideas how they worked, and that's what put us on the journey of creating the book and then doing the interviews. Is, we put together strategies where, hey, your principal's protected. You're going to earn up to a 12% interest credit. You can grow your money tax-free. You can pull your money out tax-free, so it's a tax-advantaged account. It has flexibility, and you can leave a tax-free legacy for your heirs. So, as I said earlier, there's no silver bullet, but, man, getting educated and finding out what's out there is a major issue, I believe, across the country. And that's what we do, is we try to educate the person. Hey, here's a strategy that might fit you better for your particular situation, but unless you learn it and understand it, you'll never know. And as I said earlier, that's one of the big issues we find, is people just taking the time to get themselves educated and getting some professional guidance and finding out, what's going to work for them.
We need to take a little break. Michael Cosentino is our guest. His book is called America's Retirement Crisis: How to Build Wealth in the New Retirement World. So we'll kind of pick his brain a lot more. Plus, if you want to call in, don't wait, because we've got another 12 minutes when we come back. The number is 622-9622. Ultimately, the book would be the best place to get information, obviously. But if you want to call in, you're welcome to do that. Again, the number 622-WOCA. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Partial sunshine for today and becoming breezy this afternoon. High 79 to 86. Tonight rather cloudy, low 65 to 70. Partly sunny and warm tomorrow with a shower or thunderstorm around in the afternoon. High tomorrow 87 to 90. And mostly cloudy, breezy, and quite warm on Sunday. Will be a shower or thunderstorm around with a high Sunday between 85 and 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brian Thompson.
It's the end of the fiscal year, and that means budget cuts and number crunching. Now's the time of the year you're evaluating your expenses, planning your budget, and finding ways to save money and increase efficiency to maximize profits. Dex Imaging understands and delivers. Call Dex Imaging today for a free document management evaluation. Cutting your office expenses is as easy as calling Dex Imaging, 352-266-0333. Start saving money today and increase your bottom line with Dex Imaging. Printers, copiers, and fax machines that increase office productivity and save you money. No one understands your bottom line better. Call Dex Imaging today, 352-266-0333, or check them out on the web at deximaging.com. That's DEXimaging.com. Or call 352-266-0333 for your free document management evaluation today.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Kenny's Place Nursery offers horticulture training for the mentally handicapped, and that makes them beautiful people in my book. And those beautiful people have some beautiful plants and flowers on sale, like annuals in 4-inch pots for only $1 each, a 3-gallon bottle brush plant for only $8, Confederate jasmine, 3 gallons for $8. How about azaleas, 1 gallon for only $4.25, and a 2-gallon pot of knockout roses for only $17. Call 352-867-1213 for Kenny's Place Nursery.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new trunk.
Yep, we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
All right, 11 minutes now before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. You know, when you talk about money, it gets your attention. You know, I mean, unless you're so independently wealthy that it doesn't ever affect you. But even those people, I bet you're listening.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, think about the guy. You know who I'm talking about. I don't mean specifically a name, but you see him he's welcoming people at Walmart, or it could be a woman. He's bagging groceries at the grocery store, you know, or maybe he took a part-time job as a cab driver, or as a janitor or something like that, and they retired from something, and their pension isn't good enough, or they have no pension.
Or they want something to do.
Or sometimes it's a widow, and she's left with not a whole lot. You know, they work together all their lives, and all of a sudden she's kind of left with nothing. This might help. I'm trusting it will. Michael Cosentino has written the book called America's Retirement Crisis. Michael, am I saying your last name correctly?
Yeah, Cosentino, you got it right.
So how did you get so smart with this? Is this something you've always been good at, or did you learn by the School of Hard Knocks?
Yeah, finance has always been a passion of mine. It's where my master's was in, master's in finance. And for me, a lot of the changes occurred after the last crash in 2008, when I was like, there has to be a better way to do this than what we're doing. It just, as I said earlier in the interview, it was, 1, 2, 3, you got 2000, 2002, then 2008 and 9, and that put me on the journey here, looking for ways in which, okay, there's got to be a simpler way to go about this, where it's a longer-term strategy, where you're not always constantly looking over your shoulder, and that really is what put me on the path.
Every time that we're in a financial crisis, I'm sorry, Rob, I didn't mean to cut you off, but every time we're in a financial crisis, there is a story 6 months later, a year later, of somebody who did something during the crisis that made them wealthy. So I always say, you know what? Even when the news is making it seem like it's the most dismal times you've ever lived through, there's always somebody who's going to come out of that looking really good. So that person might as well be you.
Yeah. You're right. There's always an opportunity, no matter what type of market you're in, that whether it's good or bad, there's always people making money.
Well, you have a true passion for helping people. How do you instill the drive in people to go out and get a job and get off of the government welfare, off of Medicaid, things like that? Because that seems to be where the debt is coming from. The people that I'm not talking about the people that are disabled or mentally challenged that need the help, but the other people that are able to work, they won't work because they're so comfortable receiving government help.
Yeah, I think ultimately what you want to do is educate the person to know that there's a brighter tomorrow. Ultimately, if you learn, and that kind of what I've said been a theme here in our interview, is get yourself educated, find out what's out there, what you can do for your future, and then get professional guidance. One of the things I see that is just lacking out there is people are literally afraid to speak to an advisor about finding out a little bit more about questions they have about planning for retirement. And I always say, any advisor or person that's doing any kind of planning for you that is not worth their salt if they're not willing to spend, time to at least educate you with no strings attached. And that really I believe, is probably one of the shifts I don't think has happened enough out there across the country. I think there's more education definitely taking place out there, but I think people needing to get themselves, their answers to their questions, so that it gets them a little more comfortable. And the best two ways to do that is getting yourself educated and then getting professional guidance.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would think is a no-brainer is you really can't depend on the government. I mean, maybe you can for a little trickle of money, but I mean, if you really want to have a nice lifestyle, you kind of have to do something on your own. Is there? I kind of hinted at the beginning of the show that if you were fortunate enough to have a house in a high-priced area, and then you move down here to what's considered a low-priced area, and we're not in Miami, we're in like Central Florida, so it's really much lower than Miami would be.
Yeah.
But even somebody moving here from Miami would have that same circumstance. Then you're lucky. But are there areas of the country that you'd be better off in, financially speaking?
That part of it, I'm not quite sure of the statistics as far as locales of where you're going to what's better, what's not better. But I would agree with you on the fact that you can't bank on entitlements. Social Security income. There's going to be changes coming. Ultimately, whether you say, hey, I'm going to have to adjust this by 20%, 10%, I'm going to use some kind of a nominal number down because there's a chance that it might decrease for me when I get to retirement. That that part of it's something you have to consider. But also you have to have a plan in place, like you were saying, Larry. That's outside of that you're putting a plan in place for yourself that's going to create an income for you in retirement along with your Social Security income.
And you stress that people don't need a huge sum of dollars to invest in themselves to keep for their retirement years, that they can do it paycheck by paycheck. They can take money out from that paycheck and put it aside.
That's a great question, Robin. One of the things I think that's really changed out there since 1978, when you look at how it used to be an income-focused world, where a majority of people were receiving a pension, they focus on income. Well, suddenly the shift has gone to, return, which that means risk. And if you really take a look at it more from an approach of income and how to create income for yourself, it is a much more, it's a healthier approach. And usually when I show it to people and they kind of look at it, say, okay, well, that's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to have to be. If I follow a simple plan here that's geared more towards creating income for myself.
The book again is called America's Retirement Crisis: How to Build Wealth in the New Retirement World. Lots of information in here. Will this information, does this change like next year? Would this information be true, or will so much change in the course of a year that you'll have to issue a revised version of this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Larry. And if you look at a lot of the strategies we show, a lot of the outlines of the strategy have been around for hundreds of years. What's been nice about the industry as a whole is it continues to improve itself. Obviously, the needs that we've been covering here in this interview continue to be, there's a massive amount of needs for retirees, so they keep adding features to different plans out there and different strategies out there. So yeah, a year or two from now, there may be some additional features in there, but the outline will remain the same. And that's the most important thing, is that, hey, you can create a plan out there that's insurance-based, that that grows tax-free, that allows you to get up to 12% interest credits, that is principal protected, that it's tax advantage, so you can pull it out tax-free, leaves a tax-free legacy for you. So there are options out there, and creates an income for you, which has a lot of people perplexed out there. Is how do I take what I'm going to be saving and creating some kind of an income at it 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Do you know, when we first started doing radio, this has got to be, well, I mean, talk radio. It was like 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a caller who just won like a few $1,000s in a scratch-off ticket on the Florida lottery. And I said, oh, that's great. Congratulations. He said, why is it so great? He said, I get Social Security. Now they're going to cut my Social Security because I won this. So I'm at the same point I was. I might as well have not have won it. I said, really? I had no idea.
Yes.
So when we, I hate to think that people are depending completely on their Social Security, but do they actually hurt themselves by working or by earning money?
Well, you're right. Obviously, taxation factors into there. If you're working, you're going to have, what type of income you make is going to factor into how you're actually taxed. So they have to take a look at that, and that's a common question that people start asking themselves as they get to that 65 to early 70s. And you're finding more and more people are working. Some people, I think, work because they love it, and that's great. I think it is awesome. I think there's only so many grounds of golf you can play, and only so many vacations you can take, I always say, and it's great if you can have a passion for something you're doing just because you love it.
Right.
But then there's the others that, they have to continue working just to have the lifestyle that they want as well. But you have to factor that in. When the time comes where you're starting to look, hey, I've got X amount, I'm going to start pulling out, and if it's not tax advantaged, and it's going to be taxed, that money that you start pulling out from your retirement plan, and here's my Social Security income, and then if I'm working, how does this all three of these elements work together, and what is my marginal tax rate? And you bring up an important point, Larry. That's something you have to start looking at as you get closer to retirement. So
I'm going to put you on the spot. I hope it's not too much of a spot. Let's say you're in an elevator with a 20-year-old and with a 65-year-old. They both know that you've written this book. You've got 30 seconds to tell them like one idea that'll really make a big impact on their futures. What do you tell the 20-year-old? What do you tell the 65-year-old?
Yeah, the 20-year-old, I tell you, you can set up a tax advantage account that you pull your money out tax free. And then the 65-year-old that's going in, and I'm assuming he's post-retirement, he's just getting ready to retire, there are strategies in place that allow you to be able to grow your actual income at a guaranteed interest rate. Most people don't know that. And that's, one of the things that when it comes to insurance-based planning is, there's such a lack of knowledge out there, and part of it's the industry's fault. They haven't done a good enough job letting people know there's better alternatives out there that might work better for you, may not.
So do you go to your insurance agent to find out which one?
I'm sorry, say again?
Do you go to your insurance agent to find out what investment opportunities are there through insurance?
Absolutely. I mean, ask the ask the questions. Hopefully, I'm going to show you a way to get a free copy of my book here. When they get to the end of it, they can call in and read that. Read other, books on it. There's plenty of different topics on it.
All right.
Get yourself educated, then take that information to a professional.
Michael, we've got 55 seconds. How do we get the book?
Yep. You can call 800-387-9958. That's 800-387-9958. Mention the show, please, and then you get a free copy sent out. And that's how you get it.
Okay, 1-800. What was the rest of it?
800-387-9958.
All right, excellent. And the book is free?
And the book is free. They'll send a free copy. Make sure they mention the show, of course. Just tell them that you were listening here.
All right.
They'll send out a free copy to you.
Well, that's great. Okay, we'll go ahead and repeat that later on, as well as on the Facebook page. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Larry, and you guys have a great day.
Good stuff. Thank you. You too. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. A terror bust across Italy aimed at members of a group linked to those officials say had plotted attacks on the Vatican.
There were 20 warrants out and 9 arrests of suspected al-Qaeda members, but the base of operations was on the island of Sardinia, which come summer becomes a playground for Europe's rich. According to police wiretaps, some of these men had boasted of being sent to Europe by bin Laden himself. Some of them were behind the deadly bombings at a market in Peshawar, Pakistan in 2009.
Fox's Amy Kellogg. Comcast dropping its $45 billion bid for Time Warner Cable.
Comcast and Time Warner Cable are the country's 2 largest cable companies. Regulators had expressed concerns about the merger, which would give Comcast 30% of the pay TV market and more than half of all broadband internet service.
Fox Biz Network's Ashley Webster and Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams of Ohio were calling all products closing shops because of listeria worries. Fox News. We report, you decide.
And now another golf confessional brought to you by Golfsmith. A man told his wife he was losing his grip on reality, and the best way to reclaim it was to go to Golfsmith for their fitting days, going on now. There he was custom fit for the latest clubs like Ping G30 irons and the Cobra Fly Z driver. Now he's got a better grip on his game and is winning every round he plays against his 3 imaginary friends. Get fit during Golfsmith fitting days. It's free, it's fast, it's fundamental. Golfsmith. Anything for golf.
Overturned truck, freeway construction, rubberneckers slowing everything down. I travel for work. News like that used to ruin my whole day until I discovered Citrix GoToMeeting. With GoToMeeting, you can meet from anywhere using your computer, tablet, or smartphone. No expensive travel required. And with HD video, simply turn on your webcam and it's like